What's up, ladies and gentlemen? All right, I got a deck guide for you. Now, I don't typically do deck guides. It's not my thing. My decks are usually hot, steaming piles of garbage, but I figured at this point, we're having fun with this, and it's a new expansion. I might as well toss one out there. We've been cruising through the lower levels of ranked on our way back to pro rank, and I figured, you know what, let's toss this out while it's still hot and before people sort of catch on. And there's nothing new about it. The cards that this is centered around we'll talk about, but all right. Basically, we'll try to do this in literally like under 5 minutes if we can. But all right, Force of Nature, 15 provisions, it spawns a Fat Boy relic, and that's where this whole thing is. Relics. Tactical advantage is your stratagem. All right, She Who Knows. That is the centerpiece. We're going to cruise through the cards, and I'll tell you how they sort of piece together. All right, number 1, Witch's Apprentice. Fantastic card. Now, I was sleeping on this. I didn't think this was good at all. I thought it was way too vulnerable and way too late into a round to make this happen, but you can typically get this to pop off on turn 3, and then it goes out of control. It's also a relic. Fortune Teller is so freaking good right now. Dropping a Veil on units that your opponent might be trying to give resilience to with She Who Knows stops that stuff right in its tracks. If they've got the tall unit and you want to make sure that it doesn't go by, drop some Veil on it. The She Who Knows will try to give it Veil, and it will not get Veil because of, try to give it resilience, and it will not give resilience because of the Veil tag, and then they're going to cruise through and not know what happened. Not to mention, Doomed, you're going to see a lot of Succubus decks out there lately. Drop Doomed on one of those Succubuses, and yeah, see what happens. Doomed on things like the Flying Redanian, awesome. Drop a Doomed on their Egern, perhaps, maybe. If they're playing Kelly or something. Things that you don't want to see happen a few times. Doomed on a card that you suspect Skellige might res. Doomed is a good thing to have. Fortune Teller, great tech card. All right. Megascope. I am so on the fence with this because it can get really, really bad. But it has been really good with the with these witches, with the witch apprentices, because having more of those, I would play 4 of these if I could, but I can't, right? So Megascope is the best way to do it. It's sort of a non-interactive play. You drop it down, it's going to spawn another witch apprentice. It's pretty slow. This is definitely a cuttable card, but it's there. Teleportation is really good. I was back and forth with this because I thought playing teleportation on something like the Gancans. If you drop teleportation on this, you can bring this up to 13 points, which is a really delicious ghoul target. But at the same time, you could also go ahead and play it to reset the damage done to your She Who Knows or anything else, frankly, that is has been damaged. You can reset it. But replaying Fortune Teller to drop Doomed to really shut down a Succubus strategy is really important as well. While they're trying to fill their graveyards with Succubuses, giving them Doomed and replaying Fortune Teller to do that is awesome. Not to mention, if you're playing it, you can also use Naglfar's Taskmaster, if necessary. If you're getting poisoned, drop it in. Teleportation will allow you to play it again, and that's not bad. I mean, in round, you're going to have a lot of points in this deck, so even though it might be fairly slow on the tempo side, you should have enough of a lead in most cases that's not going to be that bad. I've got Natural Selection because it's an organic card that you can tutor. This is definitely cuttable depending on what's going on. I played it in here because, again, it's an organic card that you can tutor out if necessary with the Wispus Tribute that we have. Other organics, I've got Parasite. Keep your stuff healthy or kill their stuff. Very simple. Rat Catcherus is really good. But people are catching on to this because this is something that it's dangerous to play early because of you don't have the Sabbath help to cancel the ability, and every damage it takes is going to weaken it. Usually you want this to sort of just survive and be good and be awesome, but typically if you're opening up with this, it's susceptible to pings of damage that really, really hurt this thing. So you have to be careful about when you play this, but very, very good card with an immense ceiling. And for 7 provisions, it's just delicious. I've got all 3 Crones. Man, these are good. Typically, you're going to want to open up with Brewis because consuming in this deck is not important. Excuse me, it's not very important. You might be able to consume something off of another row to boost her up to really rescue the Sabbath ability on a row where it might not be available to you. But typically, this is the first one you want to do so that you can improve the other Crones and their relics as well. So that's not bad. Ada Striga is a 7-point card. I figured that The damage that this does is pretty decent. You can usually exchange this for something like a Phantom. Phantom's not bad as well, or even the Beast in the 7 provision slot. You can't go wrong in either way. What else do I have in here? We said the Gancans and the Ghoul. This Ghoul has a ceiling of 14 points when you want it to be. This thing, if you drop teleportation on Gancan and it gets up to 13 points, in a later round you can use the Ghoul to play this for a lot. Not to mention, if you still have a Crone, a Brewis trigger, you can drop the Can for 13, eat it with the Brewis, and then follow up with Ghoul for another 14-point play. So that's optional for you as well. I've got Spores because there's a lot of Colgrim garbage going on out there, and this has been really good at being able to just shut down all those silly people still playing Colgrim. And Colgrim's good, don't get me wrong. It's still a viable deck. There's a lot of extra thinning tools, but Spores has been very, very good, especially in conjunction with having a Taskmaster to get through any defenders they might have. Very simple as that. Keep going on. Osril, well, frankly, Osril's there because we're going to have a lot of big boys, be it Goliath, be it a Gancan, be it the Rat Catcherus. You also have She Who Knows that might not survive and be able to... Your Goliath's going to be good. Not to mention, in a monster meta right now, there's going to be a lot of fat targets that your Osril's going to be able to go ahead and snipe. It's going to be good, I promise you. This is a card that you're going to want to be able to find value for. Naglfar here is simply as an extra tutor. Don't forget that of the 2 cards you're looking at, the second card is going to go on top of your deck. So be wary of Nilfgaard players playing Alchemists or whatever that might switch the cards. So, but at the same time, if you're playing this in round 2, know that the card that you do not choose will go on top of your deck, so that's the first draw you'll have. All right, what else we've got? Triangle within a triangle. I am so about this card right now because it's getting a lot of work done. It gets rid of pretty big targets, and there's a lot of them with high provisions that a lot of people are playing right now, and it's just a very versatile card because you can go ahead and boost your She Who Knows by 13, damage your opponent's She Who Knows if necessary, just kill it outright. Not to mention, it does boost a lot of your units pretty favorably, such as Koshé and Ihuaraquax. These are 2 cards that are 10 provisions, so Triangle is going to play for 10 as a boost on your side if you need to rescue, but boosting a She Who Knows as a late game play or a late round rescue play is really good. You can get 13 points out of this card, easy peasy. All right, people are saying Koshé. Why Koshé? Why Koshé? This is not a Thrive list. It doesn't need to be a Thrive list because this card now spits out 2-point units. And in a round 3 where you still have your leader ability and some fat boys still being to be played, this can really pop off. This can be worth, this can have a ceiling of about 13 to 18 points in a round, and it's spread over multiple bodies. So even if they get rid of Koshé, you might still have some Thrive units on the board that you can go ahead and help you out. It's not bad. And I told myself when I included this card that if there was going to be a situation where I was very disappointed in this, I would then cut it for something else in the 10 provision range. But so far, Koshé's been very, very effective as an alternate win condition when you don't necessarily have all the big boys. You don't necessarily need to build around Koshé, but she definitely helps. Not to mention, she is going to be your second target with Ihuaraquax being pulled, so keep that in mind as well. She Who Knows is what Ihuaraquax gets. So if you get Ihwara in your opening hand, get rid of She Who Knows because you want Ihwara to pull the She Who Knows as a 14-point play, which if you already have like a Goliath and some other, one other card on the board, right there is your Sabbath, and that's the way it goes. Not to mention Ihwara onto She Who Knows against like V or Vi on a round 2 where they pass just pretty much locks up that deck and just makes it useless. Having Ihuaraquax in a deck is a very, very big thing that other decks are going to have to worry about and keep in mind because you're going to be yoinking some pretty good stuff. You've seen it in other decks, how it's played. Ihuaraquax in a V deck is going to go ahead and pull their V, but it's also going to play your She Who Knows. So it's going to punish them there. But at the same time, if you're able to use Ihwara against a list, you might be able to pick up a Rinse or something along those lines. A Rinse, I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's going to be good stuff. Nonetheless, your standard procedure here is really, you've got a lot of firepower. Monsters Point Slam is something that has been it's been Monster Identity for a long time, and this is just another way to pop it off. Nice to see the the Crones wheel back into relevance here, as they basically have been out of the circle for a little bit. But, yeah, you've got a whole bunch of stuff. Now, this is definitely needing refinement. I don't think it's all that fantastic. Cards like Megascope can go. Natural Selection can probably wheel out. I haven't been disappointed with Spores yet. I've been pretty happy with it. And cards like Taskmaster and Fortune Teller, to me, are absolutely clutch. Absolutely clutch. If you're playing against monsters, like I said, drop Veil on their tallest unit, their biggest strength, base strength unit, so that their She Who Knows will try to give it resilience, but will fail because of the Veil. Fail for Veil. And it's been good. And again, like I said, 13-point Gancans are not out of the question with cards like Teleportation. But assess the situation, go from there. You've got cards like Wispus Tribute. You've got a whole bunch of relics in here. Ihwara, She Who Knows. You've got all kinds of these Crones, Ratcatcherus, and Apprentices, etc., etc., etc. You got a whole bunch of options. I really like this deck. We've been cruising with it. We've been beating a decent amount. We came very close to beating a Precision Strike Squayatel list that ran. It ran Scorch, Heatwave, Geralt. It ran all the Tall Punish, and it just barely beat us because our last round we drew no units, believe it or not. Yes, I know that sounds ridiculous, but we drew no units in our last round, so there was nothing we can do even if we wanted to. Anyways, that's the list, ladies and gentlemen. This went longer than I wanted, but nonetheless, I love you so much. Thank you so much for tuning in. Catch me twitch.tv/watchflake, and tell me on the comments here, what decks are you playing? What vulnerabilities do you see in this list? What changes would you make? What for provision card would you take instead of Megascope? I need to know this because I want to make this deck better. Be good, be kind to one another. I love you. Adios.